Well, let's just start. Thanks for being here. When I proposed this, I said I could take as little or as much time as they wanted me to, and so if we get out early, we get out early today. Go eat some of the fruit out there. My name is Christiansen, and I'm a teaching group leader. And
a darn good one.
All right.
That's
right.
right.
I was going to say, thank you for coming, all of you in our group. And it's kind of like a little mini reunion here. It's been fun to see everybody.
We should get a picture of the end.
There we should. Everybody's here. We're missing one. Who are we missing that's here that's not in our group?
Is Janet here?
Janet, yes. Janet is here. Nice. I've seen her. So anyway, Stephen Christiansen, born and raised here in St. Anthony, right by Rexburg. Went to BYU. Then went to Portland State for my master's degree. Taught high school English for a ton of years, and then this year just made the transition to be a high school counselor. And then I've taught part-time for Portland State University online, and now BYU-Idaho online. My wife, Alicia, also teaches, and so she's here. And let's just go around the room and say, let's just, it's small enough. Let's just find out who everybody is here. So let's start with Michael.
I'm Michael Hales.
Michael was in our teaching group last semester that we're going to talk about.
I'm Melissa Everett.
Yes.
My class.
That's a repeat.
Okay.
I'm Shannon Lantine. I teach religion. I'm also from CRM.
Nice. Good. Yeah.
I'm Alicia Christiansen. I teach the English 106 right now.
Very good.
I'm Carmen Rufleich. I'm an AIM. I'm Stephen's AIM, and he is my TGL.
We get work done effectively when we talk to each other.
I'm Lindsay Paul. I teach in family studies, but I'm an AIM, so I'm happy to see what I just
What we did, yeah. Congratulations last night.
Oh, thank you very
Very good. Yeah.
It's Melissa.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're nominated.
Oh, very good.
So it's mine.
Thank you for doing that.
Well deserved.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay, over here.
Amy Weir. Maiden name is Hales. I'd love to chat with you.
Oh, nice. All right.
I teach math, 100L and 100G, and sometimes life skills.
Excellent. Okay.
Helen Gregory, and I taught pathway English and then English 101.
Very good. And Helen was in our group last semester.
Ben Forsberg, teach 101 and 106, and I'm in your group. I was in there last semester, and
And maybe the semester before that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
were you at TGL 3 semesters ago? Ryan Evans.
Ryan was our teacher.
Yeah, you were in the group
Was
with
last semester my first one?
I thought so.
As
No.
fall.
As TGL.
Oh, fall. Yeah,
I think
Ryan's
fall.
last semester was last spring.
Yeah, so I
So
think
they
I
knew
was
what to do.
fall.
They knew what to do.
Because we didn't start the group goal the first time. We gave it a semester. All right, so let's just jump in here and please, if you have questions or just anything, just ask. We're a very laid back kind of group, and we're just I don't know. I want Michael to talk about that just a little bit here because he said something yesterday that I really appreciated, but we'll get to that. So positive potential in the group.
I shouldn't be in here, right? But I want to tell everybody what your philosophy is as a teaching group leader.
Well, go ahead.
Do you want to tell everybody?
Sure, go ahead.
He's high love, low frills.
I love that.
So, yeah, it is. I just believe about that. All right, so first of all, a little background of, because I come from the public sector of education, a huge trend lately has been professional learning communities, probably something you've all heard of. And so my high school in Oregon is kind of one of the leaders in professional learning communities and proficiency-based grading. And so we've been doing it for about 10 years now. And so as I started thinking about this new job as a teaching group leader, I thought, well, how can we use this teaching group and help it to become this professional learning community? And as an English department at my high school, we would meet weekly and we would develop shared goals and common assessments. And then we would use those common assessments. And then, of course, as we would administer those, we'd get together as a department, talk about what our students did well, what they didn't, where we could improve. And so we had this common goal. We were working together. And it drove our instruction, and it drove what we were doing. Another big thing in public education today is the difference between an assessment of learning and an assessment for learning. And so I just started thinking about all of this stuff the first semester as a teaching group leader as goals. We all have to set goals. So that's the next slide here. So we set goals every semester. Each teacher sets a goal, and then as a teaching group leader, I track those goals. I would send out an email or chat or whatever, say, how's your goal going? How are you doing? You all report them weekly in your weekly reflections. And so we have these goals. And the hope is, at least this is what I think, and those of you that are aides in here can speak to this, I believe that one of the reasons we have these goals is that we want instruction and outcomes to improve because we as teachers have goals. And Brother Broadhead talked about teacher outcomes today, which I thought was interesting. I really like that, actually, that we start thinking about, well, what are the teacher outcomes instead of the student outcomes? So that'll be something for me to think about here in the future as well. So what happened then, it all started with an email. This idea of a group goal. So I sent this email out, and I said, I haven't checked with Carmen if this is okay, but I'll throw it out there to all of you and see what you think. Please be open and honest with your thoughts about this. Now, this worked. We kind of had the perfect storm with last semester because we were all teaching the same class. And so let me just throw that out there to you that are TGLs and AIMS, that it may not work perfectly like it kind of did for us last semester. We were all teaching the same class. So I said, I wonder if we as a teaching group decide upon the same goal and work on it together. The benefits to this I see are many. One, we would all then know each other's goal. Two, we'd help each other all semester long. Our teaching groups, number three, would then focus on that goal. And number four, we'd remember the goal more because we're all working on it together. And five, life is more fun when you share it with someone else. So the next, in the email, I said, I totally get that this would take away from your individuality. And I wanted to just make sure that the teachers knew, listen, you're not forced to do this. This isn't something that we all have to do. If you have your own that you really want to do, then don't feel like you have to buy into this. And I was totally prepared for that if some people wanted to do it and some didn't, that was fine. So that was the email that I sent out. You can see the date. It was January 15th. We had to turn our goals in a couple of weeks. And then it just started to go from there. So it continued to percolate, as I said. I got permission from Carmen, so here's the next email where I said, Carmen has given permission, and it's okay if we choose to do this. Because I didn't want the university to all of a sudden say, well, wait a minute, you can't force this on people, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to check. So we had talked about this in just a lot of different ways, in emails, in chats, and just, people had said what they were thinking about for their goals. I did kind of a poll, and most of the instructors' goals, independent of each other, came back and they said, we want to work on the discussion groups. We want to somehow make discussion groups better. So it wasn't me coming up with the goals. It wasn't me dictating. And I feel strongly that that's really one of the reasons this works. While I believe in group goals, I don't feel that if the university were to push down to everybody and say, this is the group goal you're going to work on this semester, I don't think that would work. Okay, so this has got to be just kind of driven from instructors and perhaps the teaching group leader. So I just put this email out and said, okay, here's what everybody has said, and I think it's doable if we create a SMART goal that's measurable. So I drafted the first one. I said, we instructors, and it's the bold, we instructors in the English 3 teaching group will improve our students' experience in the discussion boards by A, making at least 5 posts ourselves each day when there's a discussion going on, B, asking at least 1 question each day out of these 5 posts, and C, sharing at least 1 gospel-centered comment post each day. We can call it our 5-1-1 goal, something like that. Maybe 5 is lame, we can do 9 a day, 9-1-1. Yeah, Ellen laughs, I just was throwing out numbers to kind of come up with a catchy phrase that we could all remember. So I said, again, this is a time for dialogue and discussion. I probably should put this in the community so we can talk about it there so we just didn't have to keep doing it on email. So then it started to morph. Go ahead.
Well, is that like 5 posts like in every discussion board, like each group or like
each class?
1 in each group for
1 in each class. is what we were saying. 5 in.
So if you have like 5 different discussion board groups, were you doing 5
No,
It'd be
groups?
one post.
it would be, it could be however you wanted it to be.
Okay, that's more doable. I was
Yeah.
like, more is okay, but that was like minimum.
That was the
Yeah,
minimum.
okay, that makes it a little easier to manage. Yeah, it makes sense.
In the class, total, yeah. It could, and I'll address that here in just a
Okay,
minute of
yeah.
how that would look.
So,
So here's Ben's email back. Is, you know, we're reaching the deadline of when we had to actually turn in our goals. So he says, since we have to turn them in tomorrow, I was wondering if you made a decision about the final numbers, because we went back and forth about, is this too much? Is this not enough? Ben says, I only suggested 411 to be like the information call number. Do you know if anyone is teaching 2 sections? It would then be 511, which is really 1022. I like 311 myself. And then he quotes Wikipedia. This is why Ben is so great. Okay, he says, in Wikipedia says the number 311 is intended in part to divert routine inquiries and non-urgent community concerns from the 911 number, which is reserved for emergency service only. A promotional website for 311 in Akron described the distinction as follows: burning building, call 911. Burning question, call. And we could probably make a slogan out of that. And so we did. That's where we went. We decided on 311. And that was our group goal for the whole semester. So every time, everything we would talk about, it was 311. So it was catchy. A total of 5 posts that each of us as teachers would somehow just post on the discussion board. Okay. 3 times we're just responding to students. 1 time we would ask a question, and 1 time we would somehow share the gospel in that discussion board. So a total of 5 posts each day in the class. Okay, so then the semester just starts going on. This is, I actually wrote this to Carmen on my group status report. So you know how we have to say every single teacher's group, or every single teacher's goal. I said, this is the absolute best part of filling out the sheet. All of the instructors in our teaching group have the same goal of 311. 3 posts a day in the discussion boards. When there's a discussion board, 1 question every day in the discussion boards, and 1 spiritual thought every day when there's a discussion. There are slight variations of the 311 goal, but everyone is on board. And we allowed, certainly, teachers to adapt. We had some that said, well, this doesn't exactly work for me, but here's what I'd like to do off of the 311. And I'm going to keep that as my goal, but here's how I'm going to do it. They would morph it into their announcements or into their notes from instructor. So we totally had still some variability in that, but it was sticking true to the 311. So then throughout the semester, in our teaching group meetings, this is just a screenshot again of one of our agendas from March 19th. We've got the focus of our teaching group meeting was just that every month. Was the 311 group goal. How was it going? And so we would report back. There would be times, of course, in between where we'd email or chat or whatever and talk about how it's going. We quickly learned in our discipline that every day was not realistic because the students weren't posting on Mondays, first of all. There wasn't anything to read.
Apparently there's no discussion board on Monday.
according to our students that semester, especially, there weren't. And even on Saturday, it started to become difficult because they were kind of checked out by then for us to be responding back to them at that point. So we did have we even changed our goal mid-semester to say, okay, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, did we say 3 days or did we say 4? I don't remember. Something like that, 311, 3 or 4 times a week. And so it morphed a little bit because we saw kind of the reality of it. So that was our experience. It was terrific, okay? Then I just will share with you some of the end of the year teacher reflections, and most of the teachers are in this room that these came from. So we all just shared at the end of the semester what we thought about it. And then I just, we'll open this up for questions and let those of you teachers that were part of this share your feelings as well. As I mentioned in the meeting, I didn't keep the goal every week, but as Brad said, the goal made me a better teacher. My focus was one on communication. I think that was maybe Michael's, one of his. It was rewarding to have almost met an ambitious goal. And I like to think it made a positive impact in my students' experience. I know it risks a causal fallacy, but I'd like to think it's at least one reason that I've had only one student truly drop out of the class. And he stuck around until the individual proposal. Now, I believe in data. And one of the things I did, and I'm sorry that I couldn't pull this up, I just couldn't pull it together last night enough to find my students' feedback at the end of the semester. I added an additional question to the scoring guide that they were scoring me on for the year. And I said, did my increased presence in the discussion boards help you or something like that? Because I wanted to try to quantify what I had done that semester. And I mean, it was like 80 to 90% was just like thumbs up. That was awesome to have you in the discussion board so much more. So we'd like to think that if we were to try to, prove that this was effective to have this group goal in our students' outcomes, that the data would back that up. Okay. As to having a group goal, however we each modified it, I found it inspiring. On a rough week when I was tempted to get by with less, something in the back of my mind reminded me that we were each doing the best we could to stay present for our students. And I found that gave me the extra courage to struggle on and do what I knew would be beneficial. I'm a fan of the group goal personally. And I would buy into that as well, because there were some nights Alicia could say, it was 11 o'clock, I'm ready to go to bed, and I'm just sitting there going, well, 311, I got to get on there because everybody else in my group is doing it. I need to do this. So it was motivational.
Having a workout partner or something.
Yeah, it is. It really was.
Yeah.
I try not to be intrusive in answering student posts, but I did post where I felt impressed to do so. I hope that I met the 311 goal. I was glad to have a group goal, though, as it kept me on task, regardless of whether I did it correctly or not. Maybe 311 didn't work, but having a group goal did work for me. And there were some teachers that had varied success. I'm not going to just smoke and mirrors here and say, oh yeah, this is perfect. We all just had all the success. Some teachers liked it more than others. Absolutely. I think the fact that this was a group goal really helped me stay on track, which in turn ensured that I was a consistent presence on the boards, which I think motivated students to post more significantly, which I really appreciated.
Is that a run-on?
Probably.
I was going to say, I hope nobody was looking at mine.
Well, that's why I left names off here.
Yeah, that's what was mine. We had a lot of.
It's more informal here. Yeah. Yeah. Did I read that? Should I read it again? No, that's all right. I simply knew we were all laboring side by side in a worthy cause, and that was motivating. For me, the group goal was a powerful reminder that I wasn't alone, even when I otherwise would have felt that way, and I valued that camaraderie. And I wanted to, Michael yesterday, when we ran into each other, so I've not met any of my members of my teaching group till yesterday. Maybe Wednesday night, met Carmen Wednesday night. And one of the first things Michael said to me yesterday, he said was, I miss the camaraderie from our last semester's teaching group. And I was really touched by that when he said that yesterday. So do you want to just elaborate a little bit on what you felt last semester with our teaching group?
Yeah, and I guess it was kind of interesting for me. I just moved here last week, but I've lived in Florida. I've taught in Florida for 4 years. And so for me, it was always like BYU-Idaho is this faraway place. and my teaching group members were typically West Coast as well. But I don't know, for me, it was something, just having that group goal, being involved more in the community space and group space there. I don't know, I just felt really close to everybody. I think it helped my teaching a lot. And yeah, I do. I kind of miss that. We got to get a reunion.
I know, it's like mission reunions. Yeah. And to be honest, this semester is different than last semester. We've got a lot of the same of us are still in there. We chose not to do a group goal this time. And there was nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't, gelling this way. But I do miss kind of just how we all interacted together last semester. And I do think the group goal was part of it.
So did you just put out a poll again and just say, is anybody interested in it? And everybody was just all over the board and it just wasn't
Yes,
something?
mostly. And this semester, and this is one thing Carmen and I talked about, because last semester we did have everybody teaching the same class.
Right.
This time, it's not at all. I mean, very few of us are teaching the same class. And so
Right.
it just, there's fewer of us. There's only, 8 of us this time, including Carmen and I in our teaching group.
So I have a question then. So how many of you were involved with this? So did you, of all the groups that you'd ever been in before, do you think this made a huge difference in helping you gel together? Or
Yeah.
do you think that it just
Make
was
stronger sense in my viewpoint.
And I like that we get feedback from each other and tips from each other more.
Right, I
So
can see a huge benefit in that. One thing that two things I think that were really helpful being a part of that experience. And this was not my first teaching group. This is probably teaching group 4 or 5 that I've been a part of. But this did have a different feel to it because everyone struggles with discussion boards. They do. This is an online thing where you're working with people who are at remote distances, and you've got to have these discussions. And so you're having classroom discussions on these boards, and it can be kind of hard to manage. So one thing that I thought was very valuable was quantifying it. Like really, to have it be a best practice, let's make this a quantifiable thing that I can work against every week. The other thing that was really helpful was having it be a group goal. There was an additional layer of accountability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can fudge if it's my own goal,
Yeah.
but when there are other people that are reporting back on it in meetings and are discussing strategies, I'm thinking, oh, I still got to bring my A game. You know, it still matters.
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
And it was easier for me as a teaching group leader to remember what your goals were.
Yeah.
So that I could just say, how's your goal going? Because I knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
So with a lot of my teachers that I work with, you know, it is an issue with motivation, and like some people just push back against the teaching group. They push back against community involvement, against the synchronous meeting. I'm just wondering, did you have anyone in your group who kind of pushed a little bit back, and like how did that? Were they converted? Like how did that kind of element go?
We did have 2 that, and this was one of her comments, was maybe it didn't work, but having a group goal still worked for me. And she kind of did her own thing. She kind of dabbled in that, but she had her own. And this was also from her. I was glad to have a group goal, though, as it kept me on task regardless of whether or not I did it correctly or not. So we did have some, and we just kind of said, great, go ahead, you know, do your thing. You know.
If it helps you, great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought about that this semester too, and I threw this out to our group. I said, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of you want to have the same goal, and you could become your own group, and 2 or 3 of you then would check up with each other. We didn't end up doing that. I have my own very specific goal this year that really doesn't relate to anybody else. It could, but so yeah, but you could have small groups within your big group of doing the same goal.
I love the applicability in the aim position of having like a leadership goal with my TGLs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
That's a great idea.
what's ticking in my head. I'm like,
Mhm.
because, you know, leadership wise, although we all teach different courses, we all have that
Yes.
very common, you know, thing that we're trying to lead other people. And so
Yeah.
I love this concept. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think there's applicability. Like I said earlier, though, I wouldn't like to see the university try to push this down to where everybody's going to have the same group goal each semester. I don't believe in that at all. It's got to be personal. Absolutely.
So when the next semester comes, how is this habit continued? Have you been able to keep it up? Have the members?
Yeah.
I don't know. Not that you have to. I'm just wondering if having kind of that momentum and being able to do it, realize like, hey, I can actually do this, or is it kind of falling back?
That's a great question. Group members, 311 this semester?
Confession time.
Yeah.
Because I do really good when I make this my
Right.
goal, and then like the next semester I try to work on something else, and then like this goes out.
Yeah.
So like.
I'll share my personal experience, and then those of you in here can share yours as well. Carmen, when she did my first course visit, you know, she was able to say, hey, it's easy to see, you know, these first few weeks, you are still keeping going on 311. It's easy to see that you're still heavily involved. Now, there was a week that I just dropped off I fell apart. And my posting was not good at all that week. And I would attribute it to the fact that I didn't have this just staring me in the face. Right. And I just felt, well, it's not my goal this year, so I'm going to have to fall off the bandwagon and not be able to do it. So I tried. I mean, I spent 3 hours last night getting back into the habit of getting in my discussion boards like I really like to. And it was great to get back into it, actually.
3 hours.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
Was that feedback on?
It was just no, I wasn't even grading. I just got a discussion boards last night.
Great.
Yeah, it was fun. So go ahead, Carmen.
Okay, so you know we're all trying to do a balanced approach when we look at the post-visit rubric, where we're putting our energy, is it assignment feedback, is it discussion boards, is it our notes from the instructor? And so how do you think that focusing your energy on the discussion board, and this for all of you that did this, really impacted your presence in the classroom or your relationship with students.
Can I add a part of that question? Because I keep thinking about something like this. As any of you who maybe teach ELs or whatever, do you question how much discussion board activity does there have to be meeting expectations? I don't know if you, because you're a math teacher, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I would like to, I don't know if that can combine at all with the question you just asked as everybody's answering.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll answer that first, just as a baseline expectation. I think you just need to have some presence in there so that your students know that you're there.
Yeah.
That's
Because
what's
this
most
is giving quantifiable numbers here,
Yes.
you know, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah,
you know?
well, maybe quantifiable numbers would work for you.
Right.
Different classes have different setups, and
Right.
so some, like in my class, it's not really a discussion, it's more like a posting part of a draft.
Yeah.
So it's
uh-huh.
a different setup altogether, so I might approach it a bit differently.
Mhm.
But if quantifiable numbers helps you get engaged, then that's great.
Right, okay.
I'm going to try and answer your question from my viewpoint. I think as remote learners, anytime a student can get a piece of you, right? I should rephrase that differently. Anytime they feel like you are talking to them and they have your attention, they crave that. They really, really want that contact with you. Realistically, this provided consistency. It's not like, wow, okay, because I don't have the 3-1-1 goal, then I'm just going to go post maybe twice in a discussion board through the whole week.
Yeah.
You know, it was more of a sense of like, okay, here's the base minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was working on that consistency, I felt like I was better connected to them when I was giving
Yeah.
feedback. Or the response to my feedback. The class climate really did change that semester. I don't feel that same connection necessarily, because I'm working on something else now. The thing is called more rapid response, and so that's creating the rapid feedback. That's creating me more than this.
Yeah, that makes sense. From my observations,
Mhm.
if your class is set up that way, I think it's a great place to focus energy because I think you can make those ready and timely
Yeah.
connections with the students, and they also really like it when they're there.
Mhm.
They comment on my evaluations.
It comes up
doing well or not.
It comes up a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking-
When you make the effort, students really notice.
They do.
They do.
And I think, talking about the rapid feedback, I know Carmen's goal is one of those and Ellen's is too. That could be a group goal. Hey, this semester, if everybody's on board, we're going to all have our grading done within 2 days.
Crazy exciting.
It is crazy exciting. That's what Ellen is doing. How's it going on that goal? That's what I'll ask her occasionally. And that's a usually ambitious goal. Ben, go ahead.
This is, in terms of the impact a little bit of the 3-1-1, it was interesting because last night, I decided instead of going back to the hotel, I actually went to the Paramount 5 and watched Furious 7. And when it was over, I thought, man, I don't want to walk back to the hotel. So I waited by the door just to ask someone, hey, did you drive here or did you walk from here? No, I drove. There was two couples. They had driven together. I said, I don't, I'm here for a conference and I'm staying at the Quality Inn. I was kind of hoping maybe if it's not too much of an imposition, if I could get a ride. And on the way back to the Quality Inn, they asked me what my name was. I said, I'm Ben Forsberg. And the guy next to me was like, really? I was your student last night. that was, and he.
So how'd I do?
I said, I hope I gave you a good grade. But it was interesting because I could tell by his tone and everything that he really enjoyed.
Right.
And that was really nice, especially since I was like sitting hip to hip with him. But it was an interesting experience.
That's awesome.
And I think that's an indicator that, my presence.
They knew you.
Yeah, was appreciated.
I think that goes along really well. I love what President Gilbert said yesterday about just the individual nature of relationships we need to have with students. And I think that this goal, or whatever you choose as a group to have a goal, that if it focuses on that, I think it can do a a lot of good for our students. Okay, so nice job. That was the last one. So teachers, you've talked. What else? Anything else that you wanted to bring up that would be beneficial for others, Michael?
One thing I was just thinking of, I just pulled up that course from winter 2015. Going through, I look at their names and I know things about them. Like I remember Emily Bagley and well, I should say that.
Erase that on the
videotape. Yeah, we're all friends here. I mean, just details about their life, and I don't have that even this semester. And granted, we're halfway through, but it's amazing to me, like pulling that up and just the recollections come back very quickly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other thoughts or questions, comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to know more about, your goal was to do one spiritual post on those 4 or 5 days that you were in there. I was wondering how that worked out, and because I know that sometimes we might feel it's a little bit contrived,
Yeah.
because we're trying to come up with something, or if just having that nudge helps open you to some revelatory experiences. I'm just curious about how that works.
Yeah, we addressed that, and I addressed it pretty just plainly to the class. I said I don't want it to be contrived, because I really struggle with that. I struggle with helping, I give myself 4s and helping others build faith in Christ, because it's foreign to me still just being able to share the gospel in a school setting. And so I said, I don't want this to be contrived, and I don't want you to feel like you have to come up with this whole huge spiritual experience within a discussion post. And so what I said, and I showed an example of when I did, I just would say something like, thanks for sharing that. I too know that faith is blah, blah, blah. And it would take 2 sentences. And that could be me sharing a personal spiritual experience. So it became much more real to me to do that, and not as difficult as coming up, saying, hey, last night at a church meeting, this is what I, and so I counted
Just
that.
a gospel connection.
Just a gospel connection, and it just simple. Yeah, it didn't have to be hard, but it just became more real too, to be able to just connect with students that way.
And I'll be honest, my notes instructor are from previous semesters, and I always have spiritual, material in those because it's important. But it's not canned. I feel like that's what they needed. That's one of the semester. But to have something like that be a prompt for me in the discussion board, I think is a helpful thing. It keeps me spiritually on my toes.
Yeah.
And frankly, there are times in the discussion where even this semester where I think, oh man, I should just jump in with the scripture.
With the scripture, yeah.
That keeps things doctrinally grounded. And I've seen that this semester. Like that is a helpful thing. Yeah, they're going to get the spiritual content in my instructor, but to keep it live in the discussion board is helpful. And it doesn't feel contrived. It's to the point, and it's part of the discussion.
Part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Good question too, Carmen. Because that was something we grappled with. And we would communicate with each other. That was the beauty of it. It was just that we would all just say, hey, I'm trying this, I'm doing that, and what do you think?